600 bodies, zero proof. Everything you know about her is a lie. Watch closely. In the frozen peaks of the Carpathian Mountains, there sits a fortress that holds the darkest secret in human history. They say the walls of Cachtice Castle don't just echo with wind, they echo with the screams of 650 young girls. And at the center of it all was one woman, Countess Elizabeth Báthory. History remembers her by a single terrifying title, the Blood Countess. The legend tells us that she didn't just kill, she believed that blood was the fountain of youth. She believed that by bathing in the essence of virgins, her beauty would never fade and death would never touch her. But is this the truth, or is it the most successful lie ever told by men who feared a powerful woman? To understand the monster, we must first understand the power she held, power that made kings tremble. The year is 1604. The kingdom of Hungary is torn apart by war, and the Bathory family owns more land than the king himself. Elizabeth wasn't just a widow, she was the absolute ruler of Transylvania, educated, wealthy, and untouchable. But inside the castle, the servants whispered of something else. They whispered of girls who entered the gates and never came out. Peasants began to talk. The local priest began to write letters. The smell of death, they said, was coming from the castle drains. They came looking for work. Daughters of peasants promised a life of service in the noble household. But once the iron gates of Cachtice closed behind them, they simply vanished from the face of the earth. Rumors spread of strange illnesses, of bodies buried in secret at midnight, of screams stifled by thick stone walls. The bodies were thrown over the castle walls, so many that the wolves stopped hunting in the forest and started waiting by the castle. The cries reached the ears of the king. He could no longer ignore the mountain of corpses piling up in his kingdom. December 29th, 1610, Count Thurzó led a surprise night raid on the castle. He expected to find a grieving widow. What he found instead was a slaughterhouse, a scene so gruesome it would make hardened soldiers vomit. Dying girls in the main hall, corpses in the cellar, and Elizabeth sitting calmly amidst the carnage. They found a diary, a register, a list of every girl who had entered the castle. The count stopped counting at 650. The scale of death was impossible to comprehend. She was the most prolific killer in history. But was she? To find the truth, we must stop looking at the blood and start looking at the money. Elizabeth wasn't just a madwoman. She was a Bathory, one of the oldest and richest families in Europe. Born in 1560, she was more educated than the king himself. She spoke Latin, Greek, and German, while most nobles could barely read. At 15, she married Ferenc Nasdasky, the Black Knight of Hungary, a war hero feared by the Ottoman Empire. While her husband fought in the wars, Elizabeth didn't sit idle. She ran the estates. She managed the armies. She was so wealthy that she loaned money to the crown. The King of Hungary was in debt to her, and that is a dangerous position to be in. When a king owes you a fortune, you are not an ally, you are a target. Then, in 1604, her husband died. Elizabeth was left alone, a widow controlling a third of the kingdom. She controlled the strategic routes to Vienna. She controlled the army. She was the most powerful woman in Central Europe. And in the 17th century, a powerful, independent woman was something the church and the state could not tolerate. They couldn't attack her armies, they couldn't buy her land, so they decided to destroy her name. The whisper started, not of treason, but of witchcraft, of blood, of madness. The trap was set. The king didn't want justice. He wanted to cancel his debt. King Matthias had a problem. He owed Elizabeth a fortune that could bankrupt the country. He needed a way out. If Elizabeth were convicted of treason, her lands would go to her children. But if she were a heretic, her lands would be seized by the crown. The debt would be erased. It was the perfect solution. Witnesses were gathered. Not nobles, but servants, people who could be bought or tortured into speaking. The investigation wasn't a search for truth. It was a witch hunt designed to produce a monster. Elizabeth remained in her castle, arrogant and unaware. She believed her name protected her. She was wrong. The trap was sprung. The accusations were no longer whispers, they were a royal decree. They charged her with the murder of 80 girls, then 100, then 600. Thurzó claimed he caught her red-handed, but strangely, no bodies were ever shown to the public. The evidence was locked away. The trial was set, but Elizabeth would never be allowed to speak. She demanded a trial. She demanded to face her accusers. The king denied it all. Why? Because if she spoke, she might tell the world about the king's debt. January 11th, 1611, the trial of Elizabeth's servants began. They were the ones who would seal her fate. Under torture, they told stories that would haunt Europe for centuries. They spoke of the Iron Maiden, a machine designed to embrace a victim and pierce them with 1,000 spikes, but never killing them instantly. They claimed Elizabeth would drag girls into the snow, pour water on them, and watch them freeze into statues of ice. They said she tortured servants who made mistakes while brushing her hair. Vanity turned into violence. And then, the bloodbaths, the story that defined her, the quest for eternal youth. Witnesses claimed she believed the blood of peasant girls was useless. She needed blue blood. This was the tipping point. She had allegedly started killing the daughters of the lesser nobility, Dorothea, Ilona, Johannes. Her servants confessed to everything. They admitted to burying 650 bodies. Their reward for the truth? They were burned at the stake immediately. Their testimony was recorded, and their voices silenced forever. Convenient, isn't it? The only people who could have defended Elizabeth were executed before she could question them. Elizabeth was never brought to court. She was never allowed to speak. She was simply locked away. Her punishment was worse than death. Solitary confinement, walled up inside her own castle. They bricked her into a set of rooms, no windows, no doors, only a small slot for food. She stayed there for 4 years, the most powerful woman in Hungary, rotting in the dark. Did she regret her crimes, or did she sit in the dark, furious at the men who stole her empire? On August 21st, 1614, the food remained untouched. The guards peeked through the slit. The Blood Countess was dead. She died as she lived, in silence, surrounded by stone. The king immediately seized her lands. The debt was canceled. The crown was saved. Her name was banned from being spoken in Hungarian society. She was erased. But legends don't die, they grow. The story of the vampire countess spread across the world. So we are left with the final question, the question that has no answer. Was she a monster who bathed in blood, or was she the victim of the greatest frame-up in history? Perhaps she was both. Power, after all, is a poison of its own. So let me know in the comments below, would you have convicted her? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark side of history, you won't believe what we are covering next. Subscribe and ring the bell, because history is darker than you think. I'm your channel name. Sleep well.